Hey, so my name is Drew Brown, and this is my leadership interview assignment. So, um, so for this assignment, I interviewed Keegan Ashby, who works at Rec Sports here in Gainesville. I've worked there for over a year now, so I've had a pretty good relationship with him. And then honestly, he's just been probably one of the best bosses that I think that I've ever had. Probably the best, if I'm being honest. So yeah, with my experience and everything, I've known him pretty well to this point, but we never had sat down and had a long conversation like this. So I thought it would be a great time to do it. So I just came into the office one day and just told him, "Hey, can I schedule an appointment?" He said, "Yep." It was no issue. It was good, you know. But at first, I reached out to some coaches around here for basketball and stuff because that's what I intend to do and why I'm doing the leadership class. But they were busy and couldn't get back with any of them. Which I understand, you know, they're busy. So I went with him and it went really well. So I'll just kind of go question by question here. So my perceptions of the leader during the interview, he's a very genuine guy, and that's I've known that, but it was especially apparent in the interview. You know, you can tell with certain people, just some things it just comes from the heart, and with him, you really see that every single answer and question and thing he said, he genuinely meant it. Um, and he's also comes across very humble. I'd say those are the two biggest characteristics that I saw. Very humble as in the regard of he is, the big boss man, pretty much the head honcho at Rec Sports over there, Southwest. But you would never know that, and he would never make that apparent. He always kind of just like the servant leadership style, if I had to say anything, because he always kind of puts the other people first, which is really nice, and it's really good to see somebody be humble like that, and it makes working for him just that much better, which is a very good quality that he kind of built upon a lot during the interview. Um, so that was kind of my perception, and he's also very thoughtful. He didn't let it be one sided. Didn't he is very good at just making you feel like you're important, that you matter. Even in an interview about him, he's asking me lots of questions. Just an all around very genuine guy. So I'm glad I was able to do the interview for him. So key leadership characteristics discussed by him. So I'd say he probably had three main things. Number one, he said the most important thing was putting yourself in other people's shoes, which I've been able to see. Which I've been able to see all three of these qualities after working with him for so long. But it was really cool to do the interview and to be able to see, him put it into words and say, okay, I remember I've seen, moments, and this is his thought process when he does that. Why he does what he does, and how that makes him a great leader. So the first one was putting yourself in other people's shoes, which he does all the time. In some small examples, he talked about how his first time whenever he started refing, which is what I do over there. I should have said that in the beginning, but I ref basketball over there, and it's very high intensity, and even more so now. I've done that, so now I'm starting to do high school basketball, which is it's crazy. You have a whole gym, people yelling. It's just very high pressure, high intensity. He says that he remembers his first time doing that, and he needs to always remember how that felt, so that whenever people are brand new and just starting out, he can be an appropriate leader for that situation because he understands the situation is the situation of leadership. So he said whenever he has to come over and talk to people, even if they just blew the game, horrible call, he's never going to come over and say, hey, you should have fixed this, you need to do this differently, because he understands the thing that people need the most is just confidence. People are just scared, nervous. I was the same way whenever I first started doing it, and he was very comforting and very calm. He just had a calm demeanor to him, which was very good. And he said that's because whenever he learned over the years as being a leader was put yourself in the other person's shoes. So he said I never forget how I felt whenever I first started. So now I know how they think, and if you can put yourself in their shoes in that way, he's like, I know whenever I first started, I just needed a little bit of confidence and somebody to come over there and just be a calming presence. So that's what he does. So that's what I would say was the first thing, which he probably talked about the most. Again, being very thoughtful about the other person was number two. Um, Being very thoughtful, as in, he always will go the extra way, the extra length to make you feel wanted, to make you feel part of a family. It's a very, very close knit kind of group to work in. So it's been very awesome. It's been the best kind of job that I've had, probably in my whole life, just because it is that kind of family vibe, and he goes a long way to create that. It made me think about the emails that he writes. He writes out the weekly emails to all the workers, and it's never just, hey, bullet point, we have this going on, this going on, this going on. You could tell he puts time into it, just because he says that's how I communicate, and I need to come across as a friendly person you can talk to, and not a big, scary, intimidating kind of boss figure. Which that comes back to just being thoughtful about the other person, making sure that they feel wanted, that they feel like they need to be there, which ties right into the servant leadership kind of theory. And then for the third one, he said you have to be great with managing time. That's what he said is so crucial. And being in college now, I've come to see the same thing. Because man, it is important. And then it's apparent with him if you go into his office. I'm like, Keegan, you have so many post-it notes. They are just all around his room. And he said that's because time management. Whenever you're a leader, a boss, a coach, any of that stuff, you're not just looking out for yourself anymore. You're kind of handling, and even on a very small scale, you're managing, 10 to 100, however big your organization is, that many people. And he said, if I can't handle my own time, how am I going to have time to handle all that stuff? Which he talked about that for a while, and just some of his methods and how he does it, in his organization and calendars and planners. And he had a ton of very helpful pointers regarding that. So my perception of him after the interview, I would say honestly it was roughly the same, just because I've worked with him for so long, so I already knew that's kind of how he always is. But one thing that I did say that could change is that, or that did change, excuse me, is he strikes me as very a lot more intelligent than I thought before, which is not saying he's not doesn't come across as a smart dude. He does, but it was really crazy to see him talk about some of these things, and then it clicks in my mind. I'm like, yeah, I see him do that all the time. But you think that's just because he's just a genuinely nice person, but in reality, he knows what he's doing, and he's thinking about these things. He's thinking, okay, hey, it's not just because he's nice and he doesn't want to yell at you. It's because he knows what's appropriate, and just the fact that there's a thought process behind that really gave me a ton of respect for him. So that was one thing that definitely changed, just to know that he's not just, hey, I'm just gonna be a nice guy. There's a thought process going behind it. So some key statements made. Um, the emphasis that that your emphasis needs to be placed on others and not yourself. He really does an amazing job. A lot of people want to get the name tag, and they're the boss, and that's awesome, and everybody should worship them daily. But it's not like that with him. And that's what I think makes him a great boss, is that it's all about everybody else, and it's always a level playing field. You can come in there and talk to him just like it's a casual thing, which is a very good leadership thing, I believe. One thing that he struck me as pretty interesting that I wrote down is he talked about how sometimes leadership can be overcomplicated, which he's not out there teaching all the leadership theories like y'all are. So, I can't say that he knows more, but I think it did have some truth in it, where he said it sometimes it can just get muddied because people think of all these different things and situations, and what kind of characteristics do I need, what kind of traits. When sometimes he's like, it's simple, you want to be a good person, keep things organized, and you can be a good leader with just that. He said it's all about being genuine. If you genuinely in your heart you want people to succeed around you, that will make you a good leader compared to if you're forcing it. He said people who want to be a boss just for the paycheck, they're not going to be a great leader. They're there for the money. He said I genuinely care about the people that I work with, and he wants everybody else to succeed, so he doesn't have to fake anything. It's all very natural to him. And just he harped a ton on just kindness and compassion, which was interesting because that a lot of times gets thrown into the shadows. In the modern kind of work thing, it's just lay down the rules. Here it is, authoritarian. So that's what was really cool, and you could see everything they said was just very true, and it was honestly a great interview. I was a little hesitant about it in the beginning, but it was a lot of fun and very knowledgeable to learn from it. Um, so I guess that's a little bit past tense. I'll wrap it up, but yeah, it was a great interview and learn those three things that he really harped on, and just be kind and compassionate to others, and be a genuine leader is what's really important. So I guess that's it. Thank you for your time.